The sun is illuminating the North Node in Pisces and Neptune at 29 degrees in Pisces, just before Neptune moves into Aries. This signifies a massive shift in the collective and some major reevaluations for individuals too. So I really want to focus on the Sun conjunct the North Node and then Neptune in Pisces today. So first, let's take a look at it here in the chart, and then I have some key words, sort of some things to lean into that can help to maximize the potential of this really powerful and quite rare transit. It's quite rare, not because the sun is conjuncting these planets. That happens each year. The sun travels all the way around the zodiac in 1 year. And every time it moves through Pisces, as it is right now, these final degrees of Pisces before entering Aries on March 20th, it conjuncts whatever planets are there. What's so exceptional about right now is that we have a ton of planets here at the late degrees of Pisces, and we also have a lot going on in Aries. So you can't see everything here. I've kind of whittled it down to the planets that we're focusing on, but these planets are crossing from the Aries, from Pisces into Aries across that threshold. Saturn is also involved, as is Venus retrograde and Mercury retrograde. But let me show you what's going to happen here. So just in the next few days, really just over the course of this coming week until the sun enters Aries on the 20th, you can see right now the sun is in conjunction with both of these planets. First of all, the North Node and Neptune have been conjunct for a month. And now the sun is coming up to meet them. So first there will be a direct conjunction with the North Node, and then the sun will pass over Neptune before moving to Aries. But in my mind, it's kind of all happening at once. The North Node is at 29 degrees. I'm sorry, Neptune is at 29 degrees. The North Node is at 27 and the sun is at 26. They're all at the same point. This is a conjunction between all three planets that goes on for the next few days. As long as they're within 3, 4, some even say 5 degrees of each other, they're in a conjunction. So first, I think it might make sense to talk about the signature of Neptune and the North Node, because really the sun is just kind of coming along to shine a spotlight on this, to sort of bring our attention to illuminate the Neptune North Node signature. And there's a little more to it than that. But I think if we start by just talking about some signatures for the North Node Neptune conjunction, then we think about how the sun sort of shines a light on that and illuminates it and calls it to our attention. That's a helpful place to start. Then I'll add in some keywords that relate to specifically to adding the sun into that signature. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Good morning, Miss Tell. I hope that everyone is feeling good. I feel like there's been so much astrology lately, and we're just now coming out of the real intensity of that eclipse with the moon having moved into Libra. But we will be feeling those eclipse energies for the next couple of weeks. We're in between the eclipses now, which is a very powerful time. Okay, back to our signature that we're talking about today. We're talking about the sun, Neptune, and the North Node. And first, I'm going to throw up some things to lean into that are related to Neptune and the North Node. So the first is vulnerability. There's something so open and wisely vulnerable about Neptune conjunct the North Node. Leaning in this direction can be helpful, but vulnerability is such an interesting thing. We are safer when we are vulnerable with people who we can trust and who we're safe with, who are good people, who care about us, and who genuinely and sincerely and thoroughly want what's best for us and don't want to see us hurt. being vulnerable with people who might take advantage of that or see it as a weakness or who are out for more of their personal gain, that can be difficult and therefore not advisable and not a good idea. So, vulnerability, but with the right people. Wise vulnerability. Being able to have had those experiences where we were vulnerable with someone and it didn't go well, and still be able to open up with the right people. If you can do that, that's you've really mastered this art, and it takes um, practice. It takes self-awareness. It takes a lot of honesty about your relationships and about the people in your life. And then we still make mistakes, right? And we're still vulnerable with someone we shouldn't have been, or we're not vulnerable with someone we should have been. So it's not a perfect science, but leaning in the direction of exploring that kind of openness to the people around you and your surroundings is a great direction to lean into at this time. You have this support from Neptune and the North Node to do that. Let's continue to round this out with some more keywords though. Okay, surrender. This one is another word that is so easily misunderstood. So let me explain what I mean by it a little bit. I think that the reason people don't like the idea of surrender is that it sounds like losing control. It sounds like giving up control, but I don't mean it in that way at all. The sort of Piscean version of surrender, especially with the North Node there, we're meant to lean in this direction. It's about listening to something other than your mental processes, listening to something other than your to-do list, surrendering to following your intuition, doing what feels good, not doing what feels bad. We all have obligations, and we can't do that with everything. But uh, beyond that, is there a way in which you can follow that intuitive guidance? Surrender to being present in the moment and moving and flowing in the direction that feels right in that moment, listening to yourself, caring for yourself. That's actually what I mean by surrender. Instead of going on this autopilot mode where we're trying to get the to-do list done. I'm pointing over here because I'm thinking about releasing some of those negative sides of the Virgo signature. The North Node in Pisces is pulling us towards this sort of mystical openness, this different way of interacting with the world, and away from an overscheduled, overbusy, too detail oriented, go, 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 very mental process type of way of living. So let's move on from that. I go on and on, sometimes for too long. I don't want to go on for too long. I want to keep it moving. Okay, sensitivity. Sensitivity is another thing to lean in the direction of. And I mean sensitivity in all kinds of ways. Yes, people might be more sensitive right now to people's words, and we may even be more sensitive to like eating foods that maybe aren't the best for us. We can have all kinds of different sensitivities. Um, but it's also having that sensitivity to pick up on what feels really good to you and what doesn't. Being able to sort of have a different connection to the way you move through the day, to your surroundings. Being sensitive to the spiritual world as well, and being sensitive to yourself and what works for you and what doesn't. And yeah, being able to understand other people quite well, but perhaps also being a little bit more absorbent than we would always love to be. You know, that Pisces, all this Pisces energy can be a bit of a sponge for whatever energies it's around. So lean in this direction, yes, and put yourself in good situations where you have good things to absorb during these few days. Okay, Pisces is also an amazing time to dream, literally and figuratively. So dreaming about your future, thinking about what you want for what's next. There's a big ending thing going on here. We're at the late degrees of Pisces, and that means that we have big beginnings ahead as the energy shifts into Aries. And this is especially significant for Neptune. Neptune has not crossed over this threshold in 160 years. So that's pretty remarkable. The North Node hasn't for 18, and it is something the sun does every year, but it's interesting that they're doing it at the same time. Anyway, dreaming energy, dreaming about the future. It doesn't matter so much the exact details that you picture, it's the energy of what you want to move towards that you want to think about. And when I say energy, I kind of mean emotions. So maybe I should just say emotions, because maybe that's a better way of saying it. Dreaming about the way you want to feel in the future, really getting a sense of those feelings so that you can sort of align with them. And I also want to say that the dreaming can be it can be literal. We might dream a lot during this time. If you're someone who has a lot of dreams anyway, that will probably be a theme for you. And even if you don't, it might be an interesting time, maybe to keep a dream journal by your bed or put a note in your phone for dreams. It's funny how having something like that can really help us remember dreams if you just have an intentional process around it. You may find it's a little bit difficult to sleep during this time. There could just be a lot of dreaming going on because we have big endings and beginnings. Okay, and this is the last of the North Node Neptune signature, and then we're going to add in the sun. So the last one I have here is this higher calling and spirituality, feeling more connected to the divine, feeling more connected to your higher self, feeling more spiritual, sort of feeling like a spiritual connection to whatever it is you're doing. But that doesn't necessarily mean in any way religion, right? Feeling an emotion, maybe emotion is the right word for this as well. Feeling sort of an emotional pull towards something, like you're supposed to contribute something here that could really benefit others, right? That doesn't necessarily mean religion in any way, but just feeling sort of motivated by something bigger than yourself. That is a theme of this time as well. So as the sun joins in with these signatures, so this has been active, you guys, since like the end of February, right? And will continue to be until Neptune moves into Aries in a couple of weeks at the end of March. That will break up this conjunction. It'll still be an off-sign conjunction, and Neptune will be coming back, but this direct alignment with Neptune and the North Node has been going on since late February and will go on until late March, the very, very end of March. So the sun comes along now and sort of illuminates all these things, brings them to our attention more. You might have had them before, but you weren't aware of them. There may be more awareness that this has been a process that's been happening lately. Right now can sort of shine a light on it, but there's some other things that it brings about as well. So let's take a look at those and talk about that as we go. First, the sun can bring clarity, and the North Node, there's something about it that's about fate. I use the word fate, but I don't necessarily mean it that way. I guess I do, but it depends. You can think of it however it works for you. What's meant for you in this life, what you're here to do, your purpose, karma, right? There's so many different words that we can use in the place here, but it's almost like you might get clarity about something along those lines. You might find almost like a destined insight, a revelation, like you're meant to see this revelation. It helps you to align with your path to have whatever this is clarified. Yeah. Move towards what feels good. If something lights you up, if you feel that little spark, if it feels really right, trust that, right? Trust if you feel like you know something, try leaning in that direction and see how that feels. Okay. I guess I don't feel satisfied with the way I explain that. It's like something is, you're seeing something that you're meant to see. You're having sort of the dust cleared from your eyes in a way that is important. And it might be sort of subtle, but also kind of profound at the same time. Okay, yeah, that's a better way to say it. Okay, and endings before next chapter. This can be a time of endings. We are talking about the late degrees of Pisces, and sometimes things need to end before, oh, and I kept playing here. That's okay. We'll talk about all of them. Sometimes things need to end to get you on the right path so that you can move to what's next. Take time for some quiet and some rest during this period, because it is a big adjustment, course correction, era shift, all of those things. We have the outer planets changing signs in 2025 and 2026. We're still operating after the Saturn Jupiter element switch in 2020. You know, there's just some big significations that show that we're in an era shifting moment. And so now, personally and individually, that might be coming up a little bit more in this early springtime of 2025. March and April are really potent along this Pisces Aries axis. So just keep in mind that any endings that are coming up right now are making way for what's next. I also just put off to the side here that we can definitely expect collective changes during this time, meaning a lot happening in the world as well as in our individual lives. This is happening at the same time that we're in this eclipse, the heart of the eclipses. We're in between two eclipses, which is always a busy time in the collective as well. Just a lot of movement and happening in the world. Shifts and changes, surprising things. And yeah, so keeping in mind that this is a time for collective changes as well. And then healing. At the end of the day, the late degrees of Pisces can really represent some deep healing work. This is a time when we can really use all of these different elements to let go of the past, to realign ourselves for what we want for a better future. There's such a spiritual component to it, such a mystical component to it. So it might feel kind of subtle, but meditating during this time, getting plenty of rest, drinking plenty of water, all of that can sort of help to integrate this. It's almost like there's so much happening in the collective, and this is a little just reminder for individuals as well to just lean in these directions, for us to listen to ourselves, take time to heal, let go, surrender, listen to our sensitivity, all of that. So I'm going to link to a couple videos here at the end that I think you might find interesting. I will attach a video about the Pisces Aries threshold that I did that I think is really right on topic with these things. And I also have a video about the Neptune North Node cycle and when our last North Node Neptune conjunction was and when the next one will be. You might find that helpful and interesting for sort of tracing how this has shown up for you. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Check out my channel. March horoscopes are up, and I'm here every day for these live astrology chats. Thank you so much. Have a great day. I'll be back again tomorrow.